Well, hello there, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Bill.
And I'm Curtis.
We are father and son, and together we are
Your Geekdumb Prophets.
Geekdumb Prophets. How's it going, Curtis?
It's going pretty good today. It's been a
All right.
pretty exciting and eventful last couple of weeks.
Well,
So
heck yeah, it's belatedly, but happy May the 4th be with you,
may the 4th be with you as well.
and the Revenge of the 6th, all that deals.
Well, it's Revenge of the 5th,
Well, it depends how you look at it.
I guess.
Some people like to split it up with Cinco de Mayo in the middle, and then do Revenge of the 6th.
Well, it's all from a certain point of view.
I think Big Bad Toy Story, Big Bad Toy Store. They did Revenge
You
of
didn't
the
even
Six
laugh at my
specials.
joke.
What? I
You
missed
didn't
it.
even
Did I miss
laugh at
it?
my joke from a certain
Oh.
point of view. You call yourself a Star Wars fan. This kind of hurt. Thank you.
I just went. I just
Wow.
figured it's like normal talk anymore, so it doesn't seem like it's different. Maybe that's what it is.
But
Just
here we are talking about Star Wars, and it goes completely
Star
over
Wars.
your head, like in
That's right.
context even.
May the
Wow.
4th be with you. May the 4th
Star
be with
Wars fan, my butt.
you. My friend got me this T-shirt. Colin, he's so nice. He's so nice.
It's a little homoerotic there.
Wow. Yeah, and moving on. All right. So, what did you do? Anything special for May the 4th be with you?
No, I played a different sci-fi game by the name of BattleTech all night long.
You didn't even
So-
you didn't watch Star Wars, didn't do nothing?
Well, what I wanted to do was play Jedi Survivor, but the PC port
Oh,
of that
that's right.
game is currently busted. So
It's busted?
the frame rate, it makes the game unplayable.
Oh, so they gotta get a patchwork on it?
Pretty much, but a game where you have to be able to dodge and counter and your frames actually count, like really count towards gameplay, having something that drops below 30 frames per second makes a game very, very difficult.
Oh, yeah. Well, it'll be a while before I get that because,
You don't
I
have
don't-
any of the newer consoles.
no, I have PS4. It'll take me a while to finally move my butt to finally do the PS5. I'll be like, but...
Well, good luck finding one even.
Oh, really? Is that hard? Well, then that's my excuse then. I can't find one, so I can't do it. I couldn't do it. Well, I went and watched. You ready for this?
Dun dun dun.
40th anniversary, Return of the Jedi. It was out in the theaters. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was fantastic. Got to see that actually on the big screen again. Somebody said, "When's the last time you saw that on the big screen?" And I said, 98, 97, 98, with you. When they did
Was that the last time you didn't see it? Whenever our local theater was doing the replays of summer blockbusters?
Nope, I didn't see it then. I wanted to. There was something I couldn't do. I made it for Jurassic Park and Rocky Horror
Indiana
Picture Show
Jones.
and the Indiana Jones, but I didn't make it for Star Wars or
No,
Jedi.
I saw all of the Star Wars movies.
Oh,
Well,
see.
no, I didn't see Star Wars.
Well, it's all that reminiscing, seeing everything on the big screen like that was just like, it takes me back, dear Lord, to the place. Little Andre Crouch for you. Anybody knows that one? And I can stop singing now if you want. Okay, all right. Well, did you get anything new and special? I know you didn't do anything.
New and special? I did!
Surprise.
I'm
Okay,
very
this is-
excited.
Spotlight
Yes.
on the new stuff.
So new geek items.
New geek
as,
items, here we go.
We have acquired since the last time they were recorded. Whenever
It
that was. Who knows?
was only like
It's-
3 or 4 weeks ago.
It
But
doesn't
we
matter.
geek out all the time. That's
it
right.
doesn't matter. But if you know
Geek out.
if you know me and kind of my history as a nerd,
Look
you'll
behind
know
you.
that shut up. You'll know that one of my favorite things is Sonic the Hedgehog. I even have a gamer my
Sonic.
gamer tag, my gamer ID, and everywhere else on the internet is Sonic Spaz. Now, I specifically named myself Sonic Spaz because of one, Sonic, and two, my favorite
Really?
artist for the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book who did all of the covers. Well, I just so happened to stumble upon some of his interior line work
Okay.
that he
This is
did.
for all you geeks. Those, people don't know. Sonic was, originally a video game and turned into comics and originally comic.
Everybody knows. No, it's
Everybody
originally
knows.
it's originally a video game,
Hey,
1991.
we're just helping
June
people out.
June 21st, 1991. The
Okay, it's
comic
been
started
around.
in April of 1993.
Sonic
This
the
is
Hedgehog.
issue 22 of the ongoing Sonic the Hedgehog comic book. This is page number 9. This is the original artwork, the original line work that Spaz actually would have sent to the publication department. Then they would have sent it to the colorists, like a scanned copy of this. So this is the original artwork that I managed to find a couple months ago, and then I broke down and, well, actually it was a few weeks ago, and then literally 2 weeks later I'm like, well, I'm gonna go spend the money on this, and that's what I did.
You got it.
Well, now it needs to
Sonic
be framed.
Spaz original artwork. Way to go.
Yep.
Well, mine seems so minimal compared to that. I was like,
You did get some Indiana Jones.
I did. I was really surprised that Hasbro made a Nazi. I gotta be honest. Oh, did I say Yahtzee? They made a Yahtzee.
They made a Yahtzee.
character. Yeah, this
We
was
just
we just got
committed a Yahtzee.
we just got this whole show's taken off now. That they actually made a toy, and I was like, he looks so cool. So I'm actually still trying to find Indiana Jones because he's been sold out everywhere. I can find him online, I think, easy enough. But
What's
this guy
the
looks
fun?
pretty cool.
What's the fun if you can't find them in stores?
It's the hunting that's the exciting part.
Yeah,
Exactly. And this kind of alludes to because the new movie's coming out. Ta-da! And so I think our next podcast is actually going to be dealing with that, with the spiritualism that's always brought up in these movies, with the Raiders, the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom,
Doom,
the Holy
The Last
Grail.
Crusade.
Yeah, exactly. So
We
that'll
don't talk
probably
about
be
the
in our
Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls.
yes. Oh, and the king. We no.
We don't talk about aliens. No.
Well, yeah.
No.
Only if it relates to Star Wars.
Well, yes, because
That's
Star
right.
Wars is aliens.
Because Han Solo is Indiana Jones, or is Indiana Jones Han Solo? Ooh,
Ooh.
that goes into our next topic later in just a moment here. Because we were actually, oh, let's do this first, okay? Because we were talking about last week with the Messianic arc, and so this week we're going to be talking about the redemption arc that happens for many of these characters through literary terms, through history. But before we go there, I got one for you. A Stump the Geek. Drum roll. Here we go. Okay, you got one for me? You got a Stump the Geek?
I do. So, we now regularly celebrate May the 4th as Star Wars Day.
Yes.
But what is the actual Star Wars Day according to Hollywood?
May 25th? Because that's the original.
Boom! That was the release of the original Star Wars. So for the longest time, up until roughly 15 years ago, Star Wars Day was May 25th. It was known as May 4th was Star Wars Day because of fan circles that found it punny.
Honey, the May the 4th. May the horse be with you. Oh, I started singing again. Here it is.
Yep. Stop.
Yep, May the 4th. May 25th, original date, air date of A New Hope. Well,
Yep.
originally just Star Wars. Later, A New Hope. Okay. I'm glad it was the Star Wars one, and I got it correct. I almost lost that one. Okay.
You did.
How about this one? This one actually surprised me. It's one of those, what do you call the origin of a word? Etymology of a word?
That's the root, but yeah.
Okay. The term blockbuster. Why is it called blockbuster?
A blockbuster.
A movie that makes like number one charts, all
I know
those
what
things.
a blockbuster is, but why is it called? I've never actually thought of this.
Exactly. Someone brought it up. I was probably listening to some radio show or something like that, and I was like, you know. And yep. Think about it. What's a blockbuster? Blockbuster? What was Star Wars known for? Lines going around the block. Blockbusters.
Oh.
Dude, it seems so simple. It's so simple.
Well,
But
whenever
it's
we're
like,
thinking in today's day and age for why something may
nope,
be called a blockbuster, and you don't need to line up anymore to
nope.
buy your ticket or
You
even
buy your
wait for
ticket.
your seats.
I
There's
thought
no
that was so
reason to wait in a
fun.
lobby, no reason to form lines.
Like
You
we
are
did.
assigned now. Oh my
Like
god,
we
I did
did.
not know that.
Oh my gosh. You know how many I'm for our viewers, what listeners, whatever. I've taken Curtis and Brooke to midnight showings, Harry Potter, Star Wars, all the Marvel ones. I remember Iron Man when that first came out, the first Marvel one. We
Oh,
got there like at
Iron Man. We
six
started
o'clock.
back as far as Spider-Man 2.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. We'd get there at 6 o'clock and just park our butts, get the one popcorn, the one drink, and just fill it up and waiting till midnight. Those were the days. That was the true understanding of the blockbuster.
Those were the
I remember,
days whenever the midnight showing was basically one theater.
and it was fun because everybody that was there to watch this movie wanted to be there. They loved this character, they loved the movie, they loved the franchise. So the camaraderie there was like going to conventions.
So I got a little side tangent about that one because I also went to the midnight showing of The Last Airbender. I'm a massive Avatar The Last
Oh, okay.
Airbender fan.
Yep.
If there's anything that comes about whenever you're going to see a midnight showing with people that are diehard fans, that they are willing to sit in line for hours upon hours to see a film, and throughout the entire movie, they do nothing but heckle it, and everybody is in agreement.
Yeah.
Every 5 minutes, Ong, it's
Wrong.
Aang. Ong,
Aang.
it's
It's
Aang.
Aang. It's Aang, not Ong. Yeah, that movie was.
So
That was.
you know, we were all eager to see it, and we were, man, were we disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every
The
one of
Last
us, everybody
Airbender.
walking out going, I need a drink. This was awful.
And you being what? Were you like 15 at the time?
No, I would have been in, ooh, that would have been 2010.
We gotta look
Yeah,
it up now.
I would have been about 16.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
That's right. All right. Well, that's our Stump the Geek. Curtis didn't get me, but I got him.
Mm,
Booyah. All right. So today's,
etymology, thank you.
yeah, etymology. There it is. So today's story, what we're going to be talking about today, kind of going along the lines with that messianic arc, is understanding this idea or the concept of the redemptive arc or the redemption arc. So obviously, I was asking Curtis, like, hey, who can we use? Daredevil? Nah. We've already been talking about him. How about the idea of the concept of the anti-hero? That's more of a
It's
story
more
for another day.
Punisher, Venom. That's a story for a
Punisher,
different
all those
time.
different ones like that. So then Curtis says to me,
Darth Vader.
duh, we're on the May the 4th. Yeah. So I know. So we're going to be talking about
He
Darth
calls
Vader
himself a
today.
Star Wars fan. Yeah, right.
He calls himself a fan. Well, more specifically, oh, we'll get into that. So the redemptive arc. So what this means is the elements of the redemptive arc. This is a literary term. Literary term.
You can't speak today, can you?
No. For a type of a character development in which a bad or morally gray character turns into a good person by the end of the story. Or another one says, more simply, a story arc wherein an immoral character redeems themselves and makes right for their wrongdoings. So, you got looking at this whole idea of the redemptive arc is that someone that's trying to become a better person, trying to steer away from the evils that they've done. So along that lines, even what we started with, how about this? Is he Darth Vader? Or are we going to be talking about Anakin Skywalker?
Is he Han Solo or Indiana Jones?
Two sides of the same coin. So, I mean, when you think about that, the concept of when we mentioned Darth Vader, people think immediately of,
They can't
and they
they
got the
can't they
helmet.
can't pick that up on your mic. But
Oh,
the
they
the heavy
the
breathing.
heavy breathing, the dude with asthma, oh, and the James Earl Jones voice, and then, but when you think of Anakin Skywalker, you think that poor kid.
I don't
You
say
know
poor kid. I say what a wuss.
what a wuss versus Darth
No,
Vader.
no. It very
Kills
much becomes
everything.
by the time that you're thinking of Anakin Skywalker, you're thinking of who should have been the greatest Jedi Knight of them all.
It should have been. He was the chosen one. You were supposed to bring balance. So
Not
this
leave it in
makes
darkness.
that's exact. Well, this makes an important point when you looking at the character. You see Darth Vader or you see Anakin Skywalker. It's important because this gives you a ground or basis of the story that you're going to be reading or taking a look at. So is this the story of Darth Vader? Or is this the story of Anakin Skywalker's redemption? So there's the difference with that in how the persona that you give, even with the name. Think about even in the Bible. The Apostle Paul originally was called Saul. He changed his name because it changed the persona of the way that people looked at him. And, even in the Bible, there was a point he was this way, and then he became Paul, and now he's this way. So
And at
Anakin,
times, well, continue. Sorry.
Anakin, then Darth Vader, then Anakin again.
Well, and like you don't even necessarily have to utilize a name change to symbolize that fact.
Right.
Within a lot of Asian culture, what ends up happening is you have characters that they go through a similar change where who they were previously is not who they are now, and it's symbolized through cutting of long hair. It's symbolized through the changing of their actual physical outward appearance to
Oh
where
yeah.
people don't
Yep.
necessarily view them as the same person.
Well, even in Star Wars, they take off the Padawan braid. You're
They
no longer a
do,
Padawan.
yeah.
That's You stepped up. You're no longer Padawan. You're now Master.
Yep.
You move up in that stage. Interesting. Good point there. I like that with the cutting of the hair. So to understand the redemption arc, we need to actually look backwards and look at what causes the person to fall, what causes that person to become the the morally great character that's described earlier.
And
So,
just to clarify one other thing, this isn't the
oh,
idea of a sympathetic villain. This is the idea of a hero that has fallen, become evil, and then is from that point redeemed.
right, because to know Lloyd Dobler is to love Lloyd Dobler. To love Lloyd Dobler, say it with me, Curtis,
Is to
is to
know
know
Lloyd
Lloyd
Dobler.
Dobler. That's right. It's all in the name, man. It's all in the name. You either know him or you love him. So the reasons can change in our look at a story. So based on what caused them to become evil, or based on, like I said, the name. Do we immediately think Anakin? We think, oh, he's the evil guy. No, when we think of Anakin, we think of the poor little boy. We think of the changes that he went through. The immature little whiny brat.
We think of the whiny brat that brought about the downfall of the Jedi Order.
Right. So it has to take us to that point where we look at and say, okay, so what brings them? Let's use we're talking with Star Wars here. What brings them to the dark side? Yeah, huh? You like that? You like that? Yeah, yeah. I'm
No, it
just
was
using.
cheesy.
That's right. I'm just using what God's been giving me. All right. So Yoda actually said it. So we're going to kind of break these points down. Yoda himself said it. Do you want to say it with the voice?
I'm
Fear.
not saying with the voice. No,
Fear is
no.
path to the dark side. Fear
Fear
leads to
leads to
anger.
anger. Anger leads to
Anger
hate.
leads to hate.
Hate
Hate
leads to
leads to
suffering.
suffering.
Much, and to finish it off, much fear do I sense in you.
Much fear. Exactly. But that was Luke. not Anakin, but I see where you're going with it.
No, he said it to Anakin as well.
Oh, okay. So fear. So let's look at that. So fear leads to the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. So let's start with fear. So what was he afraid of? What do you think he was afraid of?
Well, I mean, he was afraid of quite a few things, but
Besides his own
whenever,
shadow.
besides his own shadow, the one thing that Yoda actually does legitimately address within the film that he asks him about is that he fears having left his mom. He fears
Oh
having
yeah.
grown up.
He's a little boy.
Yeah.
We're all afraid of leaving. You're a mama's boy.
Well, all men are mama's boys.
Yeah, I'm definitely a mama's boy. Big time. Yeah. So the fear of losing that. So fear of, well, you look at the progression, fear of losing his mom, fear of losing Qui-Gon. Then when Qui-Gon dies, the fear of who's going to teach him. Is he going to be able to stay in the Jedi Academy? Then even ultimately leads up to the fear of losing Padme, the very fear of death itself. Exactly. So, and you actually brought up a point where this actually changes with
It
the arc and the
does. It
story.
actually changes with each film if you look at it from a thematic perspective. Within episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Anakin is very fearful of the journey that he's about to partake in. And then by the time that you get to episode 2, Anakin is very angry about he's very angry about the task that he's been given. He feels like he's, not actually, given a chance to show his abilities and what he's capable of doing. And that manifests in basically the butchering of an entire tribe of Tusken Raiders because he's angry that his mom was harmed. Then by the time that you get to episode 3, he is hateful of the Jedi Order for the fact that not even the fact that he feels like they were not, actually letting him use his capabilities. He's actually 100% hateful and resentful of them because he feels like they are not telling him everything. Then that eventually leads to the downfall of the Jedi Order itself and him getting both legs and another arm chopped off and burning, and then having to live in a suit that perpetually harms him even more to generate even more force power within it, according to the EU. I don't know if the Disney canon decided to go with that absolutely morbid take. I personally prefer the idea that the suit is personally torturing him, because it just leads into the idea that all throughout the original trilogy, he is suffering.
He's suffering through the whole turn. Well, and I like that because how you talked about each movie kind of takes a different aspect of what Yoda was saying. Fear leads to anger. Then the second movie, anger. You see him nothing but anger leading up to that. So, why did he become angry? Why was he starting to be afraid? It's kind of like when you were like a little kid. If you could see us in the aisle in this, if we go to Walmart or whatever, as long as you could still see us in the aisle, you were like, okay, I'm still safe. I'm okay. As soon as you went around the other corner or I went around the corner, you'd start freaking out because it was like this fear of what's going to happen to me, what's going to happen. So you think about that, the fear, because then that turns you into doing stupid things. You're running and screaming and you run away instead of running towards. And so if you look at like Anakin, he stopped listening to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was constantly stating, hey, Anakin, you need to focus, outside of slapping him upside the face. Listen, focus, and then he yells at him for losing his lightsaber. And, this
in the EU stories, he kind of did slap him a couple times.
He did slap him in the EU stories. Just a few times. Well, and this is important because there's other things that are happening. It's not just Anakin's making up all this crap in his head and like, okay, here we go. Some of it is, but it's outside things that he's misinterpreting or taking a certain way. And he takes these things to heart. So why does he take these things to heart? I think the opposite of, stop listening to good advice. He wasn't listening to Anakin or listening to Obi-Wan. Is he also started to listen to the Emperor. And the Emperor was like,
To
The little
Sheev
devil on
Palpatine, the Chancellor himself.
Sheev Palpatine. That's right. So he was afraid, and with being afraid, you can't stop something. You get frustrated. You get even more angry, and you get upset. And so he's like just feeding into this little thing, in Anakin's ears of like, and like you said, he starts leading into, well, how come you're not on the Jedi Council?
It
You're the
becomes whispers of sweet nothingness.
sweet nothingness. That's right. Just like Samson and Delilah. Sweet, sweet nothingness. And it starts putting
There's a
all these
redemption
things.
story.
There's a whole nother redemption arc. Oh, that's another good one. Oh, we bring that up later. All right. So you think of this, why aren't you on the council? I remember one time when I was in was it junior high? Yeah, it was junior high, and I got called into the principal's office. I'm a goody two shoes. I don't get called into the principal's office. Yeah, I was the punk little nerd kid that was just like, and I started freaking out, and so I was afraid. So what did that fear do? Especially as a child, immature child, you start getting angry. I mean, we've all seen that in little children, how this fear turns into an immediate anger because they don't know how to deal with it. And so I got down to the principal's office, like, why am I getting called down here? Blah, blah, blah. And they were actually letting me know that I was made student of the month. Yeah, that's right.
Way to go.
Student of the month. This guy.
There's the sweet words of nothingness that is gonna, get to your head, stroke your ego a little bit.
That's right. Put him on American Idol. Trust me, honey, you can sing. No.
No.
No. Somebody's mother needed to tell her no.
Somebody's mother needed to slap him.
That's right. The slap of love. Need the laying on of hands. Hallelujah. So this idea that he goes from fear to anger, and then anger leads to hate. And as Curtis brought up talking before about Anakin started to actually hate the Jedi. Didn't come quite to the point yet of hating Obi-Wan initially, because there was still that little bit of the trust factor, the little still bit of that connection that is there. But again, you think of these outside forces that try to sway us. We think of the many voices that are out in the world even now. Apply this to your own life. That someone says something really nice to you and you're like, oh, and then they make a backhanded comment and all of a sudden you're feeling insecure. You're feeling, why did they say that? What did they mean by that? And then you start to get angry. And eventually you start to hate that person. I've seen that with Facebook. You've watched friends turn into these
Facebook,
adversaries.
Twitter, Instagram.
Oh, all those.
Pick a
It's
social
just
media
like,
platform.
Yeah, pick any platform you want. And it's just like, keep your crap to yourself. We don't need to see all that stuff. We don't. For one, we don't need to see it. But it begins to you begin to understand and see how it is progressively go across each one of these stages. Go from fear to anger to hate, and the hate can just eat you up from the inside out. And that's where it's very interesting how even Yoda uses the concept that hate leads to suffering. So he goes through a great deal of pain. Curtis said, he gets his arms cut off, he gets his legs cut off. But I want you to also look at this in regards from an outside perspective. Because again, we're looking at the redemption arc. We're looking at this person. We're looking at Anakin Skywalker and going, oh man, he was trying to do these things for a good reason. He was afraid, go back to the beginning, he was afraid of losing Padme. All these other things kept building on top of it. He's upset. Why couldn't the Jedi teach him how to save Padme? The Sith could. The Emperor lied to him, telling him that I can help you. I can teach you the ways. And so he starts becoming more and more towards, he starts falling more towards the love of the dark side, starts listening to that voice more instead of the voice that's basically the voice of reason that's saying, sorry, there's nothing we can do about it. And That's where we come into the point in our lives where we start the suffering individually because I've had those friends that go through that. They go through the struggles, they go through the insecurities, and then they fall into, especially not modern days, depression. And then they hate everybody and everything. And if you don't agree with them 100%, then you are the total, absolute enemy. And well, we've seen that even in society in the world right now. It's like you can't disagree with me on anything. I have to agree with you on 100%. It's not going to happen. I don't agree with Curtis 100%, believe it or not. I don't agree with my own father 100%, but I do agree with many of the things. And so it's finding that commonality.
He actually likes to suffer sitting through current Star Wars. I don't agree with that commitment whatsoever.
That's true. That has led to suffering sitting through Rise of Skywalker. The Emperor, he's alive somehow. Whatever.
Through Fortnite.
Lame. Yeah, he's alive through Fortnite. That's right. He made it through. So, you look at the redemption arc. So we see the fall. We see what causes people to want to slowly, whatever it is individually, we see it in Anakin's life, but whatever it is individually in your own life as well, that there's this fear that leads you to do other things, and it causes the anger that leads to the hate, and it leads to the suffering. So the redemption arc itself, we need to look at that person and say, okay, where we as a moviegoer or someone who's reading or watching these things or playing a video game, there's got to be something in that person that seems redeemable, or even in a relationship. Someone, you look at the Hallmark movies, and the guy cheats on the girl, and then the girl comes and says, are you sorry? And he's like, yeah. And basically, you find out he's sorry he got caught, not sorry that he did it. So there needs to be a justification of
It's
you
kind of
need to
hurts
be
that you
asked
brought up a Hallmark movie, but I see where you're going with this.
with the pop culture. That's I don't know. There's got to be some other movie in there that we can throw in there. That's the first one that came to me. Okay, Yellowstone. I've been watching Yellowstone. Yellowstone is full of
You should have brought this one
ugly,
up first.
nasty. What's that?
You should have brought this one up first.
Probably. Forget about the Hallmark. I forget I said that. Scratch that. You look at the Yellowstone. I like watching the show. And there's some good redeeming parts for each character. But there's also some pretty nasty, ugly parts in these people. And by the end, we're in the middle of the 5th season that they haven't finished yet. And it's still like, you know what? I don't care. None of these people are nice. They're all like evil and nasty people who've done awful things except Jamie. He's the only cool one. And the rest of them, you're like, I don't even care anymore. So that's where you have to look at the redemption arc and the storyline. Is that there's got to be something.
You can have the exact opposite with a show like Justified, where probably the best character in the entire thing is the actual bad guy.
Is the actual Boyd Crowder?
Boyd Crowder.
Boyd Crowder. That's coming back, isn't it?
It's supposed to be coming back, and it's supposed to be taking place in Detroit.
No way.
Yeah.
Justified with a big hat in Detroit.
Yeah, I forget what it's actually like, the full title of it, but yeah, it's a...
Oh, I have to look that one up later. Sorry, we got sidetracked. So, Justified's a great show. If you haven't seen that, go ahead and watch that. So, you look at these shows, the reality TV shows, they just show ugly, nasty people that are just trying to hurt each other because they got hurt. And so, what do? You retaliate. And that causes that suffering perspective that initially Anakin was hurt and he was suffering personally, individually. And then what did he do? He lashed out. And then over the next 3 movies, he's killing every Jedi he can possibly kill because he's trying to kill the pain, trying to kill that hurt, trying to kill whatever it was that he dislikes about himself.
Oh, man, you can take that one step further, and the fact that he actually tries to kill his own son on 2 occasions minimum. And you can interpret it that he sees himself, and it's reflecting back, and he's not liking what he's saying.
Hopefully that never happens to you, Curtis.
Just maybe.
Oh. Hopefully not. So that's the redemptive quality. You know, we look at Anakin and we think, okay, he went through all that suffering, then he started causing these suffering for other people. So then what makes us as a reader or as a watcher want to see this person overcome? One, it has to be on their individual merit that they want to do something better. They want to be a better person. Generally, what helps them is somebody else encouraging them and saying, "Hey, you can get out of this. You can be different. You can get beyond this." And in this case, as Curtis was pointing out, just the opposite, even though Darth Vader now is trying to kill Luke Skywalker over and over and over again, Luke was that tether that helped bring him back to the good side.
Well, and if you've seen Return of the Jedi, you know that that final scene as they're battling it out in the Emperor's throne room on the Death Star 2. Well, actually, even before that, whenever Luke Skywalker actually surrenders himself to the Empire to be brought before the Emperor, and he's confronting Darth Vader, and he says, "I know once you were a Jedi known as Anakin, and there is still good in you. There is still good in you."
Oh, that is a good, excellent point because that clarifies and defines this. What I've been talking about is that do you look at him as it's Anakin's redemptive arc or is it Darth Vader's redemptive arc? It's Anakin's. The full storyline is bringing Anakin back to, as you said, full circle to who he used to be.
Well, and
So
from that
instead of
perspective, you can even look at Star Wars as a whole. Is the original trilogy about Luke Skywalker becoming the hero, or is it about Darth Vader finding redemption through his son?
oh yeah, that's the whole storyline, you know, because it's originally called The Adventures of Luke Skywalker. But is it about the balance of the Force? Luke helps bring about that balance. Yes, but through Anakin. So all these things that caused Anakin to become bad, living, or if you have looking at your own life or looking at friends' lives, because you never want to say, "Oh, this isn't me; it's about my friend." Living according to half truths, those half lies, like the Emperor was like putting those little things into Anakin's ears, saying, "Well, you're good enough. You should be on the council. How come you're not?" It's like this little thing. Well, yeah, you are good, but not really enough to be on the council. You got to have years and years of experience. We think of other people that have that watered down faith. They might attend church every now and then, but do they really believe it? Do they really know what they believe? Or are they listening to so many other voices out here, as Curtis said, pick any social media platform. What voice are you listening to?
Or
James
even
chapter
listening to
2.
the own little voice in your head that's telling you that you're not good enough.
Well, yeah, and then Curtis, talk about James chapter 2 because you said your church small group is going through that.
So within the first part of James chapter 2, within the first half, I believe it's verses 1 through 14, 1 through 13, in it, the book itself, that particular chapter, that portion of it, is referring to partiality within the church. And in the verses, it's talking about brothers don't seek partiality and favor those that are rich and reject those that are poor. Ultimately, the church at the time was actually not following within the Lord's footsteps. They were following within what was going to bring them up. It was a falsehood because they weren't actually seeking truth within the Lord. They were seeking truth and wealth within an earthly possession that ultimately, would bring about the destruction of any church that decides to not follow the word.
Yep, and that brings us right in that concept that mentioned of that we could be that person that helps tether somebody who's falling away, someone who's turning away from the Lord, or turning away from doing something good and moral and just. Even it doesn't have to be necessarily just according to falling on biblical grounds, but that person who just does that little white lie in the tax on the tax form. You constantly see these movies where they just did like one little fudging and up just so they could become big and famous and but yet ruin so many other lives on top of it. So the parabolic reaction here is Jesus gave us a great example, and this I think fits perfectly with it. Is you look at the story of the prodigal son. That was the lost son. That was the ultimate story of the redemptive arc. So, for taking a look at this, I'm going to read this, and you can shut this out or you can fast forward about a minute and a half, whatever you want to do. Is that if you look at this, the parable of the lost son, Jesus continued, there was a man who had two sons. The younger one said to his
What is
father,
the
Father,
verses
give
you
me
were
my share
reading?
of... What's that?
What are the verses you were reading?
Oh, sorry, thanks. Luke chapter 15, verse 11 through 32. I'm just taking it from the NIV for today. So the younger one said to his father, Father, give me my share of the estate. So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death. I will set out and go back to my father, and I'll say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and he kissed him. The son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fatted calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate, for this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. So they began to celebrate. Now there's another little part of the story that talks about the brother, but we won't necessarily go into that. You can read that further. It talks about the outlook of maybe what some of us may be feeling. We're going to talk about that a little bit at the end. But this whole redemption story here is this man who admitted and realized that he had fallen away, that there was a type of repentance. When you look at the redemption arc, there has to be a repentance, a turning away from and a turning towards something different, turning away and turning towards. So when he came to his senses, I like how they put that. Look at even my father's lowest servants have food to spare, and I'm starving to death. It's like, dude, how stupid was I? That we all come to that point, that aha moment in our lives of just like, what am I doing? Of just, hopefully you haven't gone so far. You haven't gone to the point of prison or ruining your marriage, but some have. And that even in that midst of that recovery, that there's a point that you can turn away and turn towards something different. You may not get everything back that you lost. Anakin didn't get everything back.
No,
But
Anakin definitely didn't get everything back. He didn't get his
No.
limbs back, and he more or less died within about 20 minutes.
It's like playing country music backwards. You don't get it. You don't get your house back, your horse back, your wife and kids back. Yeah, whatever.
Did you really just make a country song reference in this podcast?
Well, it's actually
Wow.
had to be done. It
A
had to be
Hallmark
done.
reference and a country song reference. I'm feeling a little like you're not a nerd and you're just falsifying this entire thing. This hurts.
I'm just a poser. I'm just a poser.
Poser.
That's right. So there was a turning away from, coming to his senses, and that's a point where we as Christians, we as friends, we as parents, we as children, that we can be there for somebody else when they come to that point of coming to their senses. Are they going? Will there still be that trust factor that they can go to you and say, "Hey, I made a mistake. I did this. I want to be changed. I want to be a different person than what I am now." So that he went back. He went back to his father. And as you can see here, his father ran to him. That there is forgiveness and there's grace. There's always second chances. That there is hope for each one of us. When you've screwed up, I have met many in my church that have gone through things, that have done things in their past that we would say, oh, that's unforgivable. But through Christ, all things are forgivable. Because if you look at the other person, Meanwhile, the older son was in the field, and when he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. Your brother has come, he replied, and your father has killed a fatted calf, because he has him back safe and sound. The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him, but he answered his father, Look, all these years I've been slaving for you, never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, come home, you kill the fatted calf for him? My son, the father said, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad because his brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. That is the ultimate story of the redemption arc. That he was
Hey,
lost and now is found.
and it does show up in Star Wars again. I mean, the right at the end of Return of the Jedi, Luke looks over as everybody else is celebrating, and he sees his father, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, at this point. And you can get into the controversy of how many times they've switched out the actor that's playing Anakin at this point. But the entire purpose of that particular moment is showing that Anakin Skywalker was redeemed. And what was Lucas actually explored in the Clone Wars was how that redemption came about. That Yoda, how he was able to project a Force ghost, and Obi-Wan, how he was able to become a Force ghost, was they had to go through a redemption arc. They had to face a darker side of themselves and not necessarily turn away, but accept what they did. It's at that
I
point
like
that you
that.
realize, well, Anakin Skywalker accepted everything that he did. He may not be alive now, but he's
Mhm.
now in a place where he can be celebrated.
Well, and yeah, and Darth Vader, those things still happened.
Yeah.
And, we could say it was Darth Vader or it was Anakin. And, nowadays we would say somebody did something in their past, and what do? The social medias want to cancel that person instead of giving them a second chance, instead of giving them, hey, we make mistakes, we make changes. Society changes, societal norms change every week. What's appropriate, what's inappropriate. That changes. So you have to put things in perspective because remember, as I've stated at the end of every one of mine, perspective is your prison or your passport. Depends where you're stuck. Depends if you want to help that person. Depends on whether or not you want to be this, like the older brother that says, "What's? Why are you killing something for him? Why are you bringing out the best stuff for him?" And you become, and I loved how they said it. His older brother became angry, and it starts almost could easily start that vicious cycle all over again. The hate leads to anger. Anger leads to fear.
Fear leads
Fear
to
leads.
anger. Anger leads
Oh,
to
fear
hate.
leads to anger. There it is. Anger
Hate
leads to
leads to
suffering.
suffering. You're just
Yeah.
using all of your nerd cred here. This hurts.
Oh my gosh. Hey, I got the geek, the Stump the Geek one right, so that's all right.
Oh, well, okay.
All
I'll give you
right.
that.
Well, this has been a fabulous one because I want to encourage anybody out there, if you have friends that are going through struggles that you've been debating whether or not should I reconnect? Should I reconnect because they hurt me? They did something that in your mind would be unforgivable. But maybe they've been trying to reach back out. Maybe it's a father that did something that you didn't think you could ever forgive them and they're trying to reach out and you're like, Lord, give me strength. Maybe it's the brothers. The brothers have done something that they hurt them that you think, again, unforgivable. But that there is forgiveness in this, realizing that, yes, there has to be something redeemable in that person. They got to want it. They have to understand and know what they're wanting to be forgiven of, what they want to change in their life. You can be that person that can be there to help them, to encourage them and strengthen them, to bring them through that so that they are a full and happy person again. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, Curtis. It's been a blast. It always is a blast. And belatedly, may the
Fourth be with
7th
you.
be with you.
It's May the
May,
4th. May the 4th.
may the 4th,
It's
may the
still
4th
May.
be with you.
It's still May.
It's
It counts.
it's still May. That's right. And don't forget, as I said, Perspective is your prison or your passport. Peace out. Peace. I ain't heard no fat lady. We ain't out to the fat lady scenes. Haha, forget it. You're obsessed with the fat lady.